I just turned 3,805 miles on my odometer on my 2020 Indian Challenger. And I did a review of my Springfield right around the time I hit 2,500 miles, and I meant to do that on this one, but life got in the way. And then I figured, hey, I'll do 3,500, but it's 3,800. So that's a weird review. But yeah, 3,805 miles. Now I'm up to 3,806. And I thought I would take my ride home, showing off a couple of my new camera angles, and give you some thoughts on what it's like to have owned a 2020 Indian Challenger base model for almost 4,000 miles. And let's see, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 8 months. 8 months and 3,800 miles. So first, let me start off with the good. If it's cold, I can have the windshield all the way up, and I can close the vents down here in the fairing, which I have open right now because it's kind of warm. It's 81 degrees right now. So I'm going to drop the windshield back down. This motorcycle is my favorite motorcycle of any I've owned, and I've had 4. I love this bike, absolutely do. So let's start with the good. I really love this motorcycle. It's got a ton of power for me. It's got great handling. It's got a guy turning left in front of me on a curve. It's got great handling. It doesn't have the smoothest ride, but it's smooth enough for me. If you want to just feel like you're on a cloud, there are other motorcycles for that. But this one, you can feel the road. And what really helps me know how much I like this motorcycle is I've been to a few other demos since I purchased it. I've had at least 2 Indian demos, and it used to be when I would be an escort rider for these Indian rides, I would take out Chieftains and Springfields and Roadmasters and even Scouts. And now that I have the Challenger, none of them seem to fit me right. This bike, I feel like I'm a part of. Hi, dude. And I feel like I'm in this motorcycle, not on it. It's a part of me. We're an extension of each other. It's great. So when I'm at the Indian demos and I'm escorting bikes, I don't really take out any other motorcycle. I ride on my own. Even the new Challengers, because with the Challenger Limited, all this black dash is gloss, and I don't like the gloss. I like the matte finish. Power-wise, it's got plenty for me, and I'm the odd Challenger owner that has not put his bike into sport mode yet. I will. I just haven't felt the need. It's plenty of power, great response, and for distance, I'm going to find out what it's like for long distance here in a few weeks. I've got a trip going down to the Twisted Sisters with Rachel, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't expect to have any issues with distance, because what gave me issues on my Scout, definitely, and even on my Springfield, and somewhat even on the CTX, was long stretches of road where I was just moving the whole time. This bike is big enough, I feel I can move around, I can shift my weight. The seat cradles me in such a way that I can feel like I can shift my weight. I haven't gotten tired on this bike yet. In fact, the only time that I have gotten tired on this motorcycle was in a traffic jam that took me an hour to go 3 miles. And in that traffic jam where it took me an hour to go 3 miles, yes, at that point, I got some heat from the engine. And the heat from the engine was so bad that I needed to get off of the bike for a few minutes. And so I got to the end of the traffic jam, stopped at a gas station. I needed gas anyway, filled up, walked around for about 15 minutes, and that was it. I was fine. This is the only time I've gotten tired on this motorcycle. Only time I've gotten uncomfortable on this motorcycle. So what else? It's the base model, so it's the dark gray color, so it doesn't get as much attention as it could if it was that matte white on the Dark Horse, but it still gets a decent amount of attention. All Indians are kind of attention whores, but such is life. Wouldn't be an honest review if I didn't tell you the bad. I have had my check engine light come on twice. Now, if I look at the Indian Challenger Facebook group that I joined a couple of months back, there's a lot of comments about guys getting codes left and right and all of that. And because you hear the negative more than you'll hear the positive. And while I know that, and some of their dealers just might not be, they have issues with their dealers. My dealer is a great dealer. Fort Worth Indian takes a really good care of me, takes really good care of my bike. But on 2 occasions, I've gotten a check engine light. And I haven't gone through the screen to find out what the code was. I got a check engine light, and I went to the dealer the next day. And by then, check engine light was off, and they said, no, there's no code. I don't know. The battery was a little low. Hook it up to a battery tender if you're not going to ride it for a couple of weeks, which I hear a lot on the forums as well. I have never hooked this motorcycle up to a battery tender. I have one, and I have an outlet right next to where I park. I just haven't ever gotten around to it. And so I've never had the battery die. It was a little low. But when the code came on, it was right after I got gas, and the bike turned on, but I could not get it to turn over. It wouldn't start. It was acting like there was some kind of fault somewhere. I pushed off the power button down here, that button down there, and turned it back on, and the bike started, but then I had a check engine light. And the check engine light stayed on for about 40 miles, and then it went away. And when they ran the code, there was no residual code. They just said, the battery might have been a little low. Then a couple of weeks ago, I was leaving a BMW demo, and I stopped to get gas again, and same thing happened. I turned the power on, the bike wouldn't start, and I turned the power off, back on, and it started right up, but then I had a check engine light, and it stayed with me for about 40 miles, and then it went away. That time, I actually heard the click, and I think what happened was I tried to turn the bike on both times without having my gas lid all the way closed. I had it latched, but it wasn't firmly latched. There's like a second click, and I think that had something to do with it, because it's gone away. There's no code. It's just close your gas cap. So that's really the only bad thing, and it's not even that bad. Problem exists behind the handlebars. Close the gas cap. So let's talk about what I knew coming in. I knew I was getting the base model, because the base model was what I could afford, and I didn't really feel like I needed the Smart Lean technology that was in the Limited and the Dark Horse. I liked the colors, especially liked the white on the Limited, but really I felt like I can add the other equipment. And so you can see I got my phone here with my Google Maps up. I don't have the ride command screen on here, so I've got my navigation here. This is one thing that my bike did to me, just to prove it's got a sense of humor. At an Indian demo, they said, "Hey, you can get Apple CarPlay on this." I said, "No, I need the navigation upgrade." And they said, "Well, try it." And I did a couple of things, and sure enough, Apple CarPlay worked on this screen here. And that button right there that's grayed out, it wasn't. It was on. And it worked. It was great. I was like, yes, I just bought this RAM mount. I don't need it anymore. But awesome. I turned the bike off. I turned it on again, and it never connected again. That was not true. I got home, tried a new lightning cable on it, and it worked again. Turned the bike off, and I haven't been able to get Apple CarPlay to come up since. Because it's not supposed to come up on the base model without the nav upgrade. It's not supposed to come up on it at all. So I don't know why it teased me like that, but it did. I wish it wouldn't have. But in the meantime, and I hear a lot of things about how the ride command is glitchy. I wouldn't know. I don't have it. Oh, ambulance is going somewhere. And I can't pull over. I'm already stopped. So I've got my navigation here. Would I like on the bigger screen, more centered? Yes. But hey, this works. Other things that I really missed from the Springfield that my base model doesn't have, two things. First off, I don't really care about the power locking saddlebags. I hardly ever hit the button, and so when I need to lock my saddlebags, I just use the key. It's not that hard. But what I do miss is the 12-volt power outlet that my Springfield had in the saddlebag. I would carry a small cigarette lighter air compressor with me that I got at a local HEB grocery store for $15. And I'd plug it in, and if my TPMS, my tire pressure monitoring system on the Springfield came on and said I had a tire a little low, about 1 or 2 pounds, I would just go pull over in a parking lot, get the compressor out of my saddlebag, plug it into the 12-volt jack, and air the tire up. Well, this bike does not have either the 12-volt power outlet in the base model, nor does it have the tire pressure monitoring system. I've got dashes there on my ride command screen for PSI because it doesn't have the sensors. To get the factory sensors, you got to take the tires off and mount the sensor inside the wheel. And my dealer really only wants to mess with that if I'm buying new tires. And if the battery goes dead in those, they'll stop working until you take the tires off again to replace it. So what I'm going to do to take care of that TPMS problem is I have a Psychic Rider TPMS external system that I purchased, and I'm going to install that this weekend, and I'll do a little video on it, and I'll have a little TPMS monitor right here on my handlebar the next time you see me riding this motorcycle. The other thing I miss is the power outlet. Well, for a little under $60 for 2 parts, the wiring harness and the 12-volt female plug, I actually got the OEM part from Indian, and it's already kind of pre-wired. I just need the wiring harness, and they've got stuff in there to route it so it's neat and everything, a few turns of an Allen wrench and a couple of clicks, and I'll have power in this. And I'm going to install that tomorrow as well, and then I'll have my power back, and I'll have my TPMS back, and I have my navigation. And I've already upgraded, put the engine guards on. And the only other mod that I've made is a passenger backrest, sissy bar, and luggage rack, which I have not used ever. I still haven't a passenger on this bike. I got that because I thought Rachel might want to ride on it, but she said no, I just want to get a Rebel instead. And that's more fun for me anyway. So the backrest is there for when I get a Kuryakin Pet Palace and tie that to the backrest, and I can bring our dog with us on bike rides after I get her some gear. So that's kind of the good, the bad, the what I knew about it coming in, and I love this motorcycle. It's my favorite motorcycle. I've been out on Roadmasters, Indian Roadmasters, Chieftains, Harley Davidson. I took a 2021 Heritage Classic out, and I didn't really talk much about the vlog, so I'm not going to upload it. It was not that great. Took out Harley Livewire, which was a lot of fun. Took out a big BMW GS 1250 Adventure. Took out the BMW R18, which I did not like. And no matter how much, if it was a bike that I liked, like the GSA 1250 BMW, I was still much happier to get back on my Challenger my Challenger when the day was over. I just felt like I was back home.